Napoleon Bonaparte, the man who conquered most of Europe, a military genius whose name echoed through history. But his greatest defeat wasn't at Waterloo. It wasn't against the British or the Russians. No, Napoleon got absolutely wrecked by rabbits. Yep, you heard that right, Bugs Bunny's entire bloodline. So grab some popcorn, because this is easily the weirdest, most ridiculous story in all of history. It all started after the treaties of Tilsit in 1807. Napoleon was at the peak of his power and wanted to celebrate. And what better way for a conqueror to celebrate than with a grand rabbit hunt? Now, that's already a bit suspicious, isn't it? This is the guy who outsmarted entire armies, a strategic mastermind who redrew the map of Europe. Why on earth would he need target practice on fluffy bunnies? But the emperor commands, and his chief of staff, Alexander Berthier, was tasked with organizing the event. And organize he did. Berthier didn't just get a few rabbits. He went all out. He procured somewhere between several hundred and 3,000 rabbits for the big day. 3,000, let's be real, that's not a hunt. That's a bunny apocalypse. That's a scene straight out of a horror movie, just with more fluff. So, the day arrives. The rabbits are all gathered in cages, ready to be released. Napoleon and his entourage of high-ranking military officers are hyped. Their guns are polished, their muskets are loaded. The air is thick with anticipation. Someone gives the signal, probably with a dramatic flourish, shouting, "Release the rabbits!" And then it happened. The cages swung open. But the rabbits didn't do what rabbits in a hunt are supposed to do. They didn't scatter in fear, running for the hills. Instead, they turned and they charged directly at Napoleon. It was a full-on, coordinated bunny blitzkrieg. Imagine Napoleon's face. He just stared, completely bewildered. Why are they coming at me? He must have wondered. Well, here's the hilarious oversight. Berthier hadn't sourced wild rabbits. In his haste, he had bought tame, domesticated farm rabbits from local farmers. These weren't creatures of the wild who saw humans as a threat. They were used to being fed by people. So, when they saw this group of men standing there, they didn't see danger. They saw the lunch bell. They saw walking, talking carrot dispensers. And Napoleon, the emperor himself, apparently looked the most delicious. Or maybe it was just the shiny buttons on his uniform. Either way, it was a stampede of hungry bunnies. The scene descended into chaos. We're talking hundreds of rabbits swarming his feet, climbing up his boots. Dozens more were trying to scale his coat like it was Mount Everest. His soldiers, these battle-hardened veterans, started screaming and laughing like kids at a chaotic birthday party. Their bayonets, completely useless against this fluffy onslaught. Their muskets, far too slow. These bunnies moved with a speed and determination that would put your Wi-Fi connection to shame. Napoleon, the man who faced down the combined armies of Austria and Prussia with icy calm, began to panic. He faced cannons bravely. He faced cavalry charges boldly. But a tidal wave of bunnies, that was a different story entirely. "Retreat!" he yelled. Imagine that, the great Napoleon Bonaparte, shouting retreat from rabbits. I guarantee you won't find that chapter in most history books. It's just a little too embarrassing. His desperate escape was anything but dignified. The rabbits swarmed his imperial carriage, piling on top of each other like Black Friday shoppers trying to get the last TV at Walmart. His soldiers were trying to beat them back with riding crops and even trying to kick them away. But it was no use. These rabbits were relentless. They don't quit. They just multiply. Napoleon, the master of strategy, had only one tactic left in his playbook. Run. That was it. Tactical genius, folks, the rabbits had the numbers. They had the element of surprise. They definitely had the morale. And they were probably fueled by the thought of carrots. Napoleon, on the other hand, had trauma. The humiliation was absolute. Legend has it the bunnies were so aggressive that they divided into two wings, surrounding the imperial party and forcing Napoleon to flee all the way to his carriage. One particularly bold rabbit allegedly managed to climb up his uniform and sit on his hat. That's basically an act of treason, a fluffy cootie etat. Another was supposedly nibbling on his expensive boots. A fashion assassination. It's said that the rabbits didn't give up until the carriage was well on its way, with Napoleon furiously shooing them out of the windows. Waterloo gets all the press, but let's be real, Rabbitgate came first, and it probably scarred him more. Can you just hear him later, complaining to his generals? I was betrayed, and they'd have to ask, by whom, sire? Bugs Bunny, even Elmer Fudd, could have handled this situation better. Napoleon, the conqueror of nations, couldn't handle a Looney Tunes sketch. Just think about it. If TikTok existed back in 1807, the videos would have been legendary. POV, you're watching Napoleon lose a war to 3,000 rabbits. The caption, no cap, just carrots. It would have gone viral in seconds. The memes would have been brutal. Rabbit, supremacy confirmed. Clever puns like Napoleon, the comment section, would have absolutely destroyed his reputation. Bro lost to Easter dinner. L Army, major skill issue. Honestly, the sheer image is something out of a surrealist painting. It's Napoleon versus Zootopia. I'd pay good money to watch that movie. The rabbits didn't just win, they dominated. They employed psychological warfare. How cuteness as a weapon. Think about it. These were hardened soldiers. But could you really bring yourself to bayonet a fluffy little bunny that S just looking for a snack? Their hearts wouldn't allow it. And the rabbits, they knew this. This wasn't a random charge. This was organized. This was planned. This was, without a doubt, the fluffiest act of terrorism in history. Napoleon fled the field in disgrace. His men abandoned the hunt, and the rabbits, they probably feasted on the crops nearby anyway. They got their food, and Napoleon got a lifetime supply of shame. And that, my friends, is the incredible, unbelievable, and absolutely true story of how Europe's greatest military commander was defeated by an army of 3,000 fluffy soldiers. If this story made you laugh, do me a favor and smash that like button. Share it with a friend who needs a good laugh. And be sure to subscribe for more insane history that they definitely don't teach you in school. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.